All right, in this class, we are going to begin our journey with wrist locks, grab escapes, wrist releases, and things of that nature. When you look at what we've already learned in the past, we have all the tools to combat those types of things in a very primal, violent way. So the quickest way to deal with somebody grabbing your wrist is normally to strike them with your free hand. So if somebody grabs you with your lead hand here, boom, you just hit them right in the throat. Slap them upside the ear. Maybe as they grab you, you drop down and hit them right in the solar plexus. If it's a cross arm grab, you just step and strike. Maybe you step and slap. So that leads us to the number one philosophy when it comes to wrist releases, grab escapes, and joint locking in general. And that rule is shock them before you lock them. You've got to smack people. You've got to hit them. It's either going to be a pain response that they give you, or if they're not feeling pain, it's going to be a psychological surprise response or something of that nature. Maybe it's just that pattern interrupt. Maybe that strike will give you the half beat needed to roll into something else that puts you in a more advantageous position. However, with most grabbing type of attacks that we've seen on video, most of them are occurring within groups of people that already know each other. So that means it's our friends, our family, acquaintances. We're in scenarios that just don't call for a strike when they're used. So we need to learn how to get out of things so that way we have options of escaping and managing violent encounters without striking. Now, if you're going through some sort of a wrist release and you miss it or you're not able to escape, you can always increase your level of force and strike the person. If I try a wrist escape or I try a lock and it doesn't work, I can think back real quick to my previous lessons on the 7 positional goals. So, all right, this didn't work. Do I strike the person? Do I move in for a toddler? Do I move a tall guy? A whisper? Do I push in? Do I pull away? Do I knee strike? There are a lot of different things you can do. So things don't work 100% of the time and you shouldn't expect them to. You just want to have enough tools in your toolbox to manage violent encounters. And that's what we're going through today. Now, if you're the uke, if you're a partner, if you're the bad guy, remember this is the beginning level training. So don't grab the person and hang on as hard as you can to defeat their technique that they're practicing. And the reason why that's inappropriate is because you're not allowing them the successful repetitions to become comfortable with the movement. And since you're doing them a favor by not going 100%, the good guy is going to do you a favor by not escalating the force and slapping you in your ear and dropping an elbow to your jaw. So that seems fair, right? In later trainings, we'll be able to slowly increase the force and the resistance of the bad guy so the person can get used to that, and that will increase their abilities tenfold. But for now, let's just take it slow, and let's move forward in today's class and learning the principles and techniques for basic wrist locks, grab escapes, and wrist releases. All right, so in this module, we're going to discuss some wrist releases. And the reason why we go over these is because wrist releases and grabs are the number one way that people are taken and abducted. In abusive relationships, they're the way the abuser controls the victim. In street fights that have already happened, in a lot of times, especially in some of the videos that we saw in the self-preservation course, there will be a grab of some type even after they've done exchanging blows. So you have to know a couple tricks to hopefully get yourself out of a bad situation. There's no guarantees, but we have a same side grab. We're going to go over this. Then we have a cross side grab. Then we have 2-on-1. Okay. And there's a couple different inverted. We could have this, which if you look at abuser situations, this is very common. The abuser flipped the person in the face, maybe slapped them, and the person goes like this. And now the abuser is just laughing at them as they're overpowering them. So you have that. And then you have the follow me, which is where if you turn around that way, you grab me and let's go. So those are the different things that we have to work with. But you got to get the principles first. If I had to teach you only one thing, The best thing to get out of any grab is to bend your elbow in close to your body and do a circle. Any which way, wiggle out of it. When you bring your elbow right here, that's more important than the thumb, the weak thumb principle, which I'm going to talk about next. So it's always get your elbow in close. If he grabs me, now what if he's stronger than me? I'm not going to pull him here. I'm going to move in here. Okay? So that's the thing. Move around the fight and the strength, which is the attacker. Okay? So we'll talk about that. Elbow, the thumb. If I grab him, you can see one thumb's always going to be weaker than 4 fingers, and there's going to be the gap in between, which is his escape route. Okay? So that's another very common principle. So think, bend elbow, look for the thumb. That's the weak portion. Okay? Do a little circle. Move yourself around the strength. So if I'm here, okay, he can pull back, and he's not going to bend his elbow. But if he just walks to the side, he's out. Okay? And then always get to their side or behind them in all your wrist releases. I could do this, okay, if he grabs me, I could step back, try this, but look, I'm in his working space and I just ate that hand. That's not what I want, okay? So if he grabs me here, I'm always going to try to get here. Now, this might slip. We all have a bunch of different locks that we're going to be showing and sharing among the group, okay? That's okay because I have what? I know. So the first grab we'll do is a same side single grab. Remember, I don't want to use any of my techniques that bring me on the inside of my attacker because I want to get to his outside away from his fist. So the first thing I'm going to do is step to the outside. So I step and I start bending my elbow. Those two things are going to bring his thumb and his fingers to that point where I can escape from them. Okay? So I'm just going to come here, here, and then pull him into whatever position I want. Am I going to go behind him? I'm going to go for the 2-on-1. Who knows? The tall guy. If he grabs this hand, same thing. I want to step, start bending, and then grasp this arm. And real quickly, I want to get to here. Remember, I don't want to pull him because I might not be able to. Okay? Just like when he had me originally. There's a couple of techniques that would work great here in training because we're being civil and we're not afraid and we're not mad. So instead of pulling against this or doing the circle ones outward, that leaves him now facing me. I want to step, move, and get behind him. Okay. For a two-hand grab, I am going to want to go around, but now I may have to drop a little bit lower and either come all the way out because his hand's too close. If I couldn't, I could reach in and grab my fist, but everything is moving to the outside. Even if I couldn't get my hand inside, I could actually grab underneath. The cup is what we call it, under the cup. So I turn, and I'm actually now in a passive stance situation where I could push him this way. So just practice, step, bend, and position. And that's either for a single or a double hand grab. For a cross hand grab, same steps, we're just now going in the other direction. So I'm going to step in this direction, bend. I can either counter grab or reposition. Yes, if we're lucky enough, you can set in your different locks and things from there, but we're planning on a situation where we're not that lucky. So cross hand grab from this side, step, step bend, and then reposition. Let's do the follow. So if he grabs me and starts dragging me away, all I'm going to need to do is bend my elbow. So I want to catch up a little bit. Bend and come away like that. All right. This hand, he grabs me and he walks away. I'm going to catch up a little bit. Bend, rotate my arm, and back off. Now these things are the base tricks, techniques to try. And we're trying to do them without using as much force as we could. All right, because somebody grabs you on the street, the quickest thing might be just to come up underneath. All right, so the Kenpo folks, trigger salute, just work it from a single hand grab. If you drop, boom, you could knock the person down, right? If cross hand grab, boop. But we're trying not to do that. So you still always have those tools. If he grabs both my hands, okay, and he just, we're going to do one of the inward movements, okay? I can come over here and then, boom, right on top of that knee or into the nerve above the knee. And you can escalate if needed. And if you're the bad guy, let them get the technique through. Apply a little bit of tension, but don't stop them and try to defeat it while you're practicing. One principle I want to go over is maintaining tension. If he grabs me, the tension, it has to be a little bit realistic. If he just follows me in, he can defeat my release attempt, but then again, it's not a realistic scenario either, okay? If he were to do that to me, come back in, just follow me in, don't let me. Sure, he still has my wrist, but I also chose not to do a vertical elbow. So again, if you're a bad guy, have some tension, but let them work whatever technique they're using. So if he grabbed me here, I can't just dead fish my arm because he's got my wrist, okay? But I don't want to pull so hard that we get in a tug of war either. So the tension has to be there. If I just start walking, he's going to start turning. Okay? So as I start my move, I'm going to keep a little bit of tension here, so that way it gives me the half beat to get behind him, reposition, maybe just a two-hand shove. Who knows? So keep enough tension to allow yourself the ability to do the release or the escape. All right, so this is a goofy technique, but it's the double hand inverted. So if he grabs me like this, instead of not having a plan in moving around and kind of maybe being a little bit chaotic or spastic. I mean, it's natural if you were being attacked. You have to calm down and just bring your hands to the center. Just doing this little rotation here will give you a few different options. So if I just come down to the center, step to whatever side I'm going to, and then I'll just cup his arm. Okay? From the other side, or we started up here, right? So from the other side, I come down, crossing my hands. This time I'm going to step here and come over here. And then you can do several things from there. So practice that as well. The follow me and this inverted one do happen a lot. So remember that as well. All right, another principle I want to talk about. We talked about bending your own elbow, remembering that the thumb is the weakest part, always getting to the outside. But it's also just raising the bad guy's elbow. So whatever you decide you're going to do, if you're going to step here, okay, and things get squirrely, you can always just pretend you're holding a pizza. The pizza delivery guy, all right? If I come up here, this will always give you a higher probability of success in these techniques because it just removes a little bit of power that they have. If it's this hand here and he came up, hang on a little bit, right? And I can't get it, I can do a little inside parry to his elbow, and as long as I bring that elbow up a little bit, it helps loosen things. And granted, he's still going to try to turn around and face me, so we would want to stick to his inside position. Remember the pull that we talked about? And go into one of our other positions from there.